Alright, so I'm going to try to do the best I can, make a decent video, kind of give an explanation of how I came to what this looks like. Now, don't get me wrong, this is more of a first round of what it could end up being later on. Still not sure whether I'd even sell something like this, but I did build it for myself for what I need it for. So if you're watching the video and you want to say things like, oh, you could have done it this way or could have done it this way, like, man, I try to do it as cheap as I could. I had a couple of days off over the last couple weeks to work on it here and there, you know, between my full-time job and family. So I just kind of did what I could with it. But so I'll kind of give an explanation of lengths and widths and whatnot, and see if that helps the next guy. So this main rail, yeah, this camera's gonna be good. So this main rail is right at 82 inches, so 6'10". You gotta realize the bed is a 5.5 box. These mega cabs don't have long beds, so just kind of bear with me. I don't have somebody to hold the camera. So those are going to be 82 inches on both sides, and then the width is 62 inches. So anybody talking about how wide of a lawnmower they can get on here, it's really going to depend on fender wells and whatnot. You know, you can build ramps inside of the bed to get a bigger lawnmower in here if you wanted to. I'm running a 36, so that's not an issue. Now the length of the dovetail here is going to be right at about 15 and a half to the first opening for the ramp. So how I built it, I didn't have any intention on letting the main mower sit on this. So now if I was going to worry about that, I would probably end up putting another brace from the top there down to the bottom of this. So it would be like, it would attach right here and then come all the way up and attach again right here. That would give you a secondary brace. Besides, you know, I put some angle iron there just to kind of hold it up. And then down here I kind of made a little deal. You can see there's a gap, and I think that was from a little bit of the bolts not settling yet from moving around, and that rubber mat that's inside of there wasn't in there before I went ahead and did it, so that could be it. But when I do put weight on it, it does sit on it. So that's kind of more what that's for. It's just kind of like a brace. Now as you're watching this, just realize that I don't do this for a living, so this isn't something that I 100% know what I'm doing or do this all the time. So now these pieces are bolted in right there. And now another thing is I had initially welded those 1-inch pieces to the 1.5 inch, and the problem I ran into was getting it out of the bed since I welded this together already. One thing I would change right off the bat if I was going to build it again is I would probably put in a 90 section here that would bolt together these two pieces, and that way this piece with these would be separate from this, so that way it would be a lot easier to get in and out of the bed. So what I've done, the reason why these 1-inch pieces are not attached to the 1.5 is what I do is I put some straps and I hang them up from my shop, and I just lift the whole thing up out of the truck. So I mean, that's not the most horrible thing if that's something that you'd rather do, depending on how you get technical with it. But that's about the most of it. Now these are bolted to, I ran a bolt all the way through into the pocket in here, so I didn't want to cut these. I kind of like this look of it looking real solid, and it didn't really make a difference as far as being on the inside. Plus, with it being on the inside, it doesn't cover my tail lights, so that was a big thing for me, is I did not want to cover my tail lights, because whether or not I decide to put lights underneath here or not, I may just buy one of them hitched tail lights and just call it a day with that, just so that way there's a little bit more visual. With these Jungle Gym wraps, I mean racks, I got a really good deal on them. I think I bought them off Amazon last year for like $500. It came with the basket, it came with 3 racks. There's another rack over there on my trailer, and the one thing about these is they work. So you kind of look at it 2 ways. It's tall enough to where you can still see through your back window when there's nothing in it. Even with the lawnmower, I can still see around it. Now when I do a second rendition, hopefully once I get a long bed truck, I plan on getting like a single cab long bed, 2-wheel drive, so it can be lower to the ground. I mean, I don't know if you can tell, this truck's pretty much stock, but I'm 5.5 foot tall, so these trimmer racks are pretty high for me. I would say if I was going to leave it like this and never buy a new truck or change anything, I'd probably end up cutting about a 2-inch section out of each leg, and then also a 2-inch section out of this leg to bring these down some, and it'll bring that rack down as well. The funny thing is I really hadn't thought that through when I made the gate. I initially made the gate a 2-piece because I wanted it to fit in my shop. Well, once I put the blower rack up there and the gas cans and stuff in, this rack is actually too tall to fit in my shop anyway, and so that was kind of a bummer. So to make that work, I just leave that stuff off when I'm not using it, and then it fits in my shop. And then when I do have it all on, I'll just park it in here. I still need to make a new gate for the front of that, so, but it is tall enough. Now to get back into it, these pieces are just welded up here to the T, and I just kind of measured. I did a lot of hard measurements, so understand that. So as far as how long this thing is, I just made it long enough to where it was like an inch or so past the bolt head to give it plenty of strength down there. But the actual length of that from the oh, I don't need that. Yeah, I'm not a YouTuber, so we're just making this work. So from the top down, that is 10 inches. So I would say this thing is about 8 1/4. So there's that. Let's see, I'll open it up and give you some other measurements. Just so you know, this is 1.5 inches, and this is 1 inch. So the only thing I would think, I mean, this 1.5 is good. If I were to do it again, I would probably go 2 inch and 1.5 on this, and I would use the same thickness. So this is a 0.120, this is a 0.083. I would say, now with this one, when I open it up and I put my lawnmower on it, now granted I got a 36 inch, but it weighs probably 800 pounds plus me on it. So only having a single, I lined up these with the lawnmower wheels, and so the lawnmower, I make sure that I drive it up on these, and they do flex a little bit. So if that's anything to be concerned about, I would definitely just go ahead and go up to the 1.5 in here, and then the 2 inch out there, and that'll also help with the bolt holes, because the bolt holes are pretty close to the edge when I was drilling them out, at least for these racks. So I guess it'll depend on the racks you have and whatnot. That's a couple of things that I would have done differently, like I said. So 2 inch here, 1.5 on the gate, and then probably the same thickness as both. And then I would have made this a 2-piece here, so this whole section would come off by itself, so that way I could just take these in and out without having to worry about it. And then I could weld the inside, I could weld those spacers in there and not have to worry about those, and take it all out in a couple pieces. But so let me set this down now. Just notice that when I take this ramp down, it's still kind of hard to do. I haven't I haven't put a spring assist on it yet, so just kind of be aware of that. Luckily it's not real heavy, so don't have to worry too much about that. Now the sections, like I said, I wanted them to make sure that they would fit, and I actually made the dovetail low enough to where I could make these as long as possible. But these overall are 4 foot exactly, both of them, the first one and the second one. So they're 4 foot long, and they are 62 inches wide, which is the same as the outside of this. Because like I said, I really wanted to save on material. I really tried to buy as little as possible. And I mean, you can even look in here. I got that one piece up there, that 1 inch, and there's a couple scrap pieces of the I mean, very small. I used basically all the material. I don't know if you zoom in how good it'll look. That's that little titanium wire feed from Harbor Freight that I bought. So, you know, with that wire feed and all the material, I've got maybe and paint, maybe $700. So, you know, in conjunction with the cost of buying one, like even the mow and go, you know, you're $1,800 to $2,300 in, and then you got to bring it home and paint it yourself. Now, don't get me wrong, as far as that one goes, I mean, I wouldn't even lie and say that it wasn't better built. I would assume that it probably is. But so if you're buying one for a crew or something like that, you may be better off doing that, or, you know, unless you got a local fabricator to do it, or you're good at it, because I don't think that this one would handle getting beat up real bad. I use this myself, so, you know, I pay attention when I'm taking stuff on and off and doing what I'm doing with it. So I trust that, you know, if I see something going wrong, I can deal with it myself, and not wait till somebody breaks it and then calls me and tells me they can't get their mower up on the trailer for whatever reason. I plan on putting a winch either on my lawnmower or on the truck. Anyways, I know this video is getting long, but like I said, these are sectioned apart for my lawnmower to go onto it and the wheels to sit on them. The one cool thing about the mow and go is he's got those bolt-on bullet hinges that take a screw. I couldn't find those, so I ended up just buying some heavy-duty gate ones with a pin in it, so I can actually separate this one from this one, and I can separate this one from that one, so it all comes apart. So right now it's in essentially 3 pieces. You got 1 piece, 2 piece, and that whole thing is a 3rd piece. So getting it out. And the only other thing I would say that would be, you know, a big importance is these legs. Now, I don't know whether he's got a patent on these legs or however he decided to do them. I watched enough of his videos and stuff, so I give him credit, man. I did not come up with that idea at all. But if you look down in here, because his are adjustable, I just made mine to be the length that I needed them. So this piece right here, I think is a 1/2 inch, what is it, like a rebar stake, I guess you would say, because you can see the holes in it. See, I think that was like, you know, $6 at Home Depot. I cut it in half, one section here, and then there's one more over there. And then honestly, that's just a 3/4 inch, I think it was an 8-inch nipple I bought, a threaded nipple. You can still see the threads on it in there. You know, like I said, this is all rough. I plan on using it. I didn't buy it, I didn't build it to show it off. So I didn't even bother to cut the threads off because I just wanted the extra length. So I mean, you could buy a whole stick of it and cut it the pieces that you want. You can make more legs, you can put some down here. You know, you can build it any way you want it. So that is so that way it can swivel. So that piece of pipe swivels on this piece of pipe. So when you lift the gate up, this whole leg sits in between this side and this side. So that was his idea. So for whatever reason, if he ends up seeing this video, I'll give that guy credit for that. That was a pretty cool idea. I don't know if he came up with that or if he saw that somewhere else and thought it would work. and then I just used a scrap piece of 1.25" tubing that I had and made the leg out of it, kind of throat cut it out to wrap enough around that pipe to get a good weld on it, and then just a piece of angle iron down there for a foot. And I've already posted some videos on Facebook about the lawnmower going up and down it. So, you know, as you can see in here, like I said, if you put some weight on it, it'll touch that just to give it a little bit of extra strength. I could take those angles and put them underneath that rubber if I really wanted to sit on it, but like I said, it's not a big concern. So, you know, if you decide to make something like this, those are the only changes I would make looking at it now after I'm done with it. But, you know, like I said, for maybe $500 in material and paint and a couple days of your time, you know, it's a pretty good deal.